Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Moen After Dark on the College Football Mafia Network. I am your host, Moen, joined by my co-host and collaborator from CFB Express, the one, the only Rock and Rant. How are you doing tonight, Rock?
I am doing good. I had a stress-free weekend and actually hit some bets for a change. So I've been made whole. Florida could have made me rich, but they chose not to.
Yes, I had several parlays that I hit 4 out of 5 or 2 out of 3. The worst being last night. I thought, well, maybe I will. I'll be ahead if I just hit this bet, and apparently BYU is not going to allow that to happen. So
Yeah. One more closing touchdown from Florida. Even if they didn't win with a 7.5, I would have had an eighter, and that would have been pretty awesome.
yeah, whew, yeah, that would have been awesome. Let's
Even
say
as a
hello.
dollar, that's awesome.
Let's say hello to some people who came in here early to join us, and we're going to talk about these coaches that are on the hot seat, the boiling hot seat. Some of them, their asses aren't on fire anymore because their asses got fired. So we will talk about that as well. Moen's cantankerously sober twin was first. That's true. Uh, oh, hey, Moen. Since a Buckshot Kid. Good to see a Buckshot Kid. We have to wait 11 days for Moen Confidential Big Money Markets Part 2, Kansas, Colorado, TCU, and Texas Tech. Yeah, sorry. I do 3 shows a week here and getting a member-only video out. It takes 2 weeks. So, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. And then 2 weeks after that, you'll see the West Coast.
What's up,
Ryan
Ryan?
Willie. ICFM. Ryan, I came real close. It was either going to be Fu Franklin or Fu Fickell, and it was the Hans Moleman of Wisconsin saying Fu Fickell.
Ryan, here's hoping that what Penn State did today puts the necessary pressure on your administrators to think long and hard about whatever that buyout is or is not. And I think that maybe the public pressure, plus whatever that ridiculous score was, hopefully makes you happy before the year's out. But wouldn't it be great if it was by next week?
Yeah, that I can't defend that, man. The entire Wisconsin fan base is telling the UW president to fire Fickell immediately, as well they should. 37-0 when Iowa is putting 37 points up on you at home. That's an embarrassment in Camp Randall, and
I
he
meant
should
to
be
look
fired.
up,
Yeah,
and maybe somebody in the chat knows, when was the last time that Iowa scored 37 against a Big Ten opponent? Not, I don't even know when the last time they did, including their FCS and FBS cupcakes are. Maybe it was this year, but I'm just curious because that was pretty. In the world of you don't know how low something can go, that was way lower than I even expected that to happen to Luke Fickell and the Badgers.
absolutely. Big Lubbock was first, as always. Nathan Campbell says, hi, guys. Good to see you, Nathan.
What's up,
Thanks
Nathan?
for joining us. Fergie's here. He says, money, money, money. It's all just money. Wowza. CFB chaos. Go Buffs. Matt Campbell had some interesting coaching decisions instead of Prime. Yeah, big win for Colorado. Got a Big 12 win.
I'm so
Congratulations
glad I
to
did
the
not include that
Buffaloes.
game in anything because I would have been wrong.
Matt Schnuck. Good to see you, Matt. Good evening. After my pretty much comment from last week, we can rubber stamp Penn State and Florida State won't be in the CFP. Texas still hanging in there.
I think that's a safe one. Unfortunately, there's no bets you can put on that one in Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know what Texas's remaining schedule. They still have to play Texas A&M. So
Yeah, they have a couple of. They definitely have a few games that they can definitely lose, but hey, they're back in the. I think they were whatever 21 maybe in the poll, something like that in the AP poll.
yeah, we'll talk about that game. But I mean, John Mateer shouldn't have been playing that game. It was pretty obvious.
It was a really dumb strategy thing. I can't wait for us to talk about it. Besides
Yeah.
the injury, it was a dumb strategy and optics.
Sean says, hi, guys. Good to see you, Sean. Jan Holt's
What's up,
here
Sean?
all the way from Slovenia. Caleb Ramirez is here all the way from Ohio. Expedition Greg is here as well. Jeffrey Bell says, nice Badger hat, Moen. This is not a Badger hat. If you guys did not catch Friday's show, the Big Freakin' Friday show, I picked Oregon, as did pretty much the only people who didn't pick Oregon were Becky and Pickles for obvious reasons.
Yeah, but
And
that wasn't on brains. That was just on spite.
that was on spite. You're right. That was 100% a spite pick. So I told our friend Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, I would wear my new Indiana hat. Here it is. I will let the camera get a look at it. That is the Indiana. That is their retro Bison mascot. The Bison has rejoined the sidelines this season. So I saw the hat, had to pick it up. I love retro logos. I love Big Ten stuff. So
Did you have
had
to
to pick
Google
it
it
up.
to find it?
No, I didn't have to Google it. It was pretty cool though. It's like a printed on, stitched on patch. It's different. Bob Swanger says, "Hey everyone, hey Bob. I don't know if that's what you wanted, but that's what you got."
That's for sure.
Could this be the most coaches fired in 1 year? It certainly could be the most coaches fired by this time in the year.
Oh, I think without question we've hit that mark because you used to not do this. You used to get to like the weekend before Thanksgiving, rivalry week or the last bye or literally, there. I don't know. There is such a thing as Black Monday for coaches in college football anymore because that day, by the time it happens, well, it might be at 12 or 14 coaches gone.
Yeah, listen. There's not even a Monday. It's Sunday now. They don't even respect the Sabbath. They're firing these guys on Sundays. By the way, just if you had not heard yet, there were 2 coaches fired today.
3.
Trent Dilfer has been fired at UAB. 3?
That's 3 because you got Oregon State too, unless that was late last night.
I thought that was. Oh, doesn't matter. We've got 3 coaches fired in week 7. So thank you for being a member, Caleb Ramirez. He's been a member for 7 months. He is an Ohio State Buckeye, so we will give him a little something Ohio State related when I can find it. Let's do this one. Another coach that might be on the hot seat, Sharon Moore. If he continues to struggle, he is no Jim Harbaugh. That is for sure. Morris Simmons is here. He says, "Hey, hello everyone. Go Noles." Well, they went to Pittsburgh and they did not come home victorious.
It was not in Pittsburgh though. That makes it even worse, my friend.
Oh, was it in Doak?
It was.
I thought I had it at Pitt. Oh.
No, that
I didn't bet on the
in
game.
front of the hometown fans.
The James Franklin firing with coaches and staff buyouts for Penn State's current staff and next staffing is going to cost them $150 million. We talked
not quite that much, but it's going to cost a lot of dollars.
It's going to get negotiated down, I'm sure. But the rumor was that Adidas, is it Adidas or Under Armour? Adidas, I believe.
Adidas is there.
Yeah. Adidas is actually covering a good chunk of the buyout for James Franklin. Now, that's just a rumor. I haven't had that confirmed anywhere.
But if that gets confirmed, there are a lot of Adidas teams that are going to be super freaking pissed. Right? It's one thing to like earn it in other ways, but to help offset that to that degree for literally sucking is not going to be well handled by other teams. And I realize that Penn State is one of the flagships for Adidas, but there are other flagships for Adidas.
Very true. There are flagships, but Penn State is probably the largest one, I would have to imagine. In terms of brand.
There are MFN stuff in some of those deals too. So just
sure.
I'd be very interested to find out that that's what actually happened. But if it did, it did, you know.
Well, if you're in Adidas school and you want to fire your coach, now would be the time. They're going to have to pay the buyouts of their next coaching staff and pay them. Again, we don't know anything about who it is. Here we go, Nitwit. Great call on Greg's show, by the way, Nitwit. Very entertaining. Imagine Moen looks good in a red hat. That's very true. Um, Mr. Ed Wayner's here. He said, "Do you see Nick Saban or Urban Meyer interested in returning to coaching at Penn State?" No.
Oh,
For Nick Saban, absolutely not.
I mean, there's a thing there to say about Urban Meyer in regards to this, but I'll be nice.
Yeah, Urban Meyer. I don't know if there's enough hot blonde co-eds in Happy Valley for him to, get a little thumb action with.
I don't think
So,
Penn State wants any part of Urban Meyer's potential.
besides, he's going to Florida. Just
Florida
ask
State,
any. Yeah,
UCLA,
yeah.
Stanford.
Well, just ask any Florida fan. He's going to Florida.
Dude, I saw the plane land in his house, and I got the tail number, and I tracked it on FlightAware. It happened. He's literally everywhere.
All right, so let's start with James Franklin. We'll kick this off with James Franklin. James Franklin was fired today, as if you didn't hear that already, after a loss to Northwestern, possibly one of the worst schools in the Big Ten, in terms of football. But yeah, I mean, just what a collapse, what a slide. These guys were favored to win the national championship.
There are going to be coaches next year sandbagging every bunch of people who come to their camps all off season because it was super deadly to be picked to win 3 of the 4 conferences right now, right? Actually, probably depending upon who you picked, all of them in one form or another. Maybe the SEC will come through for a lot of people still. Clearly, Ohio State was picked a lot, but Penn State was definitely up there, right? And was higher in the initial polls. So brutal. I mean, 3 weeks ago, you're like one play away from possibly going to number 1 in the polls, leapfrogging Ohio State. And 3 weeks later, you're like, send that check wire here.
Yeah, and I really can't fault him for the UCLA thing. Well, I mean, I can fault him, but UCLA looks like a different team now. Just completely flipped the script.
Like they had
So,
UCLA looks like they may have had the worst coordinators and head coach in recent history.
yes.
Because what they've looked like, and granted, I know the things of, hey, Penn State travel, blah, blah, Michigan State, a lot of injuries. It's like the beginning of the season. You kind of knew that Ohio State was good right away, regardless of who the competition was. You can tell when something just seems to flip the switch. So I think you can't diminish that. And, you know, I feel for, I mean, in a way, I don't really feel for millionaires generally, but, you know, it sucks because he did a lot for Penn State as an outside observer, not in the program, not a fan like Bob or Nitwit. And I almost think that he maybe deserved more time, but I really did. I also caught Nitwit's call and hearing that insight into what was really going on site in locker rooms sounds like even worse than we might have even thought. And we all thought it was really freaking bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it seemed like it was time.
Yeah.
It was just time. The same way Wisconsin and Fickell feels like it's time. Just walk away. It cannot be salvaged. And that's what I think Penn State very wisely decided. Hey, it can't be salvaged. Now I have not heard. Do we know who the interim head coach is there?
The quarterback's coach, if I'm not mistaken, his name's escaping me.
Okay. You have to wonder if they've guaranteed that contract to Jim Knowles, because they made Jim Knowles the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football with a 3-year deal. I don't know if that's guaranteed as well. Terry Smith is the gentleman's name. Thank you, guys. Nebraska Steve says, I fear Matt Rule might leave Nebraska in favor of being PSU head coach. He was a linebacker at PSU from 94 to 97. He has a proven record of turning losing programs to winners at Baylor, Temple, and now Nebraska. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, Nebraska Steve. I think let's see more for what happens at Nebraska the rest of the season.
Yeah, man. I'm no disrespect to Nebraska, Steve, but I think that would be not a great thing for Penn State to do. From afar, I don't think, and from afar, and from hearing some of the attempts at recruiting certain players in certain areas that I think both Penn State and Nebraska need to be able to get people from. There's a disconnect on some things that are done, and I don't mean just like pictures on trailers. I mean on tractors. I don't buy Matt Rule yet. I don't. I know he's had that history. I know that the program is turning, and so Nebraska's ranked again this week, and that's great. I think Nebraska deserves a winning team. Might be one of the best fan bases in college football, but I'm not sold on Matt Rule whatsoever for Nebraska, let alone for Penn State. Personally,
I 100% agree. I think it's unwarranted until he gets Nebraska to like a 9 or 10 win season. Then I will give him all the kudos plus some for doubting him.
I agree with that.
Sean says I would go after Cignetti if I was Penn State. Cignetti's certainly going to have a lot of job offers out there. By the way, we didn't even mention this yet. Indiana knocked off Oregon, went across 2 time zones, beat Oregon, who everybody had kind of penciled into the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. Indiana said, not so fast. Not so fast, my friend, which is interesting because Lee Corso used to be the coach at Indiana. What do you think about that Cignetti? I mean, he's an arrogant prick. He's an asshole, but boy, I almost, there's something almost endearing about that he is not at all charming or.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I think he's an excellent coach, and I don't really like him whatsoever. But I do appreciate the fact that he has no F's left to give, and that he's saying what he thinks. I think that guy is on a global spite tour for having had to wait this long to get a Power 4 job, and I'm sure Penn State would be. It would be smart to talk to him. It would be stupid to not at least have the conversation. I just don't know. Like, if I'm Kurt Cignetti, I can stay in Indiana where I've already built things. I'm already going to the playoffs again. I'm probably going to the Big Ten championship. I might be a top 4 seed, and they're going to build a damn statue for me if I only play for 4. If I only coach for 4 more years, over what, 1, 2, 3, or 4 million? And I guess my question is, let's say Penn State comes with $3, $4, $5 million more a year. Indiana's probably gonna. Do you know how much money they made with him being there? That gap, I would think they'd come back and do it. And I know there's some ties to Pennsylvania, so I'm not diminishing that. And I don't know that he wouldn't take it. But man, if you can coach somewhere at his age where you've already established stuff, and there's a statue going to be built for you most likely, regardless of whether you win a national title. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would do that if I were him, but maybe he just wants that challenge.
Yeah, I think for Penn State, you would have to be there a good 15 to 20 years to get to the point where people would forget Joe Paterno at Penn State and put you up there. Kurt Cignetti, you're right. He could coach there 5-6 years, win a Big Ten championship, get to the playoffs, make a good playoff run, and just be lauded there in Bloomington.
Right.
Never have to buy a meal, never have to buy a drink. They'll name 15 buildings. They'll have 17 variations of his name on streets. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Tony Lawson says Pat Fitzgerald to Nebraska or Penn State. I think Pat's a great coach. We'll see.
He's got his whole worlds, right? Because I think people have also rumored him to be a possible fit for UCLA and Stanford as well.
Nitwit says top candidates are Lane Kiffin, Kurt Cignetti, Pat Fitzgerald. Now, see, listen, I love Pat as a coach. I don't think Pat Fitzgerald is big enough for that job. The second thing, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin has to do something with USC first. Like, legitimately. I know he's won Heisman. He's had Heisman QBs there. I completely get that. But what has he done? What has he actually done at USC?
I also don't. One, if the season goes better, then maybe USC would fight to retain him. But he's got a lot of money. You know, maybe this is the, hey, let me move on while things are good if he's having a good season, so I don't have to be at risk because he's been at risk. I also know that he certainly has not objected to the Southern California weather lifestyle. And that's
Yeah.
that is a massive change. And granted, I know he was in Oklahoma before, so I'm not saying he's not capable of doing that, but he certainly has adapted to that. Maybe not the pressure of the USC job and the expectations, but if I'm Penn State, isn't that a warning sign too?
Oh, we're talking about Lane Kiffin.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
you threw me off onto Lincoln Riley. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That is my fault. But Lane Kiffin, I don't see Lane Kiffin wanting to come up north.
Yeah, I don't see Lane Kiffin wanting to go up north when he can. He can also stay in Ole Miss and be a king, right?
Right.
And he's no. You want somebody to love you the way that Florida fans love the idea of Lane Kiffin as well.
That's true. And Jed Fish and everybody else's name who's going to get raises once Napier
Anybody
gets
besides
fired.
Locker Boy, Billy Napier.
Yeah. Billy Napier. I want to put a name out there. The name I think works best, and just hear me out. You retain Jim Knowles as your defensive coordinator. You bring in Will Stein from Oregon, the offensive coordinator at Oregon. You bring him in, let him pick his staff on the offensive side. You let Jim Knowles pick the staff on the defensive side. And Will Stein would be your new head coach. You can pay him cheap. It'll be his first head coach. Now, listen, it's a huge job for a first-time head coach to take over at Penn State. I 100% hear you on that. But listen, there's lots of coach. Ryan Day was an offensive coordinator who took over at Ohio State for his first head coaching job. How well did that work? That worked out pretty well.
Did you watch Remember the Titans earlier today or something?
No, I did not. I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Surprise.
Is that the one with
do you think that
Denzel?
Knowles? That's with Denzel, yeah, and basically,
Okay, maybe
like,
I have.
there's a lot more behind it, but essentially, it's like they forced like one defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator to come together, and one person got the head coach job, and just among a lot of other things in the '60s and '70s that were going on. But do you think that Knowles? I know he wanted to get back to Pennsylvania, but do you think that Knowles would even be okay being passed over by a fellow coordinator from another team on the other side of the ball?
I don't know.
You know him as a coach from Ohio State side, so I don't really have an idea of his temperament.
Well, here's the thing. You're buying out James Franklin. You don't necessarily have to buy. I mean, Jim Knowles has been a decent coordinator for you, other than that UCLA game. But, I mean, you paid that man a lot of money to leave Ohio State, come to Penn State. He wore a hat that says Ohio State sucks. He's not coming back to Ohio State, that's for sure.
You don't think he's going to boomerang it back and work for Patricia?
I think if Jim Knowles does get let go by Penn State, I think he goes to Oklahoma State, and I think he becomes the head coach at Oklahoma State. Because before he was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, he had that great defense at Oklahoma State. So I think that's where Jim Knowles would land. But I'm just saying, if it was me and I'm Penn State, think outside the box. Don't go get – I know you're going to say – everybody's going to say, go get Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not coming out of retirement. Urban Meyer's not coming out of retirement unless it's Florida, because Florida definitely is getting Urban Meyer. I'm saying think outside the box a little bit. The problem with Penn State has been offense. Wide receivers, we were talking about it in the group chat. The wide receivers have never developed at Penn State. Right. I could not go back and figure out a first round wide receiver pick out of Penn State. Now, tight end, sure, but I mean, wide receivers, no. So I think Will Stein's done an excellent job developing talent there in Eugene. And I know they lost this weekend, but I think that would be a good one. Ricky Tungate with a $5 super chat. Ricky Tungate saying, who's your daddy? Coach Sig is our new Bob Knight. He really, well, he got fired up in that game against Oregon. He did. He was out on the field. That was reminiscent of Bobby Knight. That was absolutely reminiscent. I need to get a Bobby Knight sounder on here. I think I had one at one time, but yeah, we'll just give you a little Indiana fight song. Fickell needs more time. A lot more. I wonder why Tony Lawson thinks that.
I have no idea. Maybe he didn't sleep well last night.
Yeah, there was only one guy who was smart enough to pick Wisconsin this weekend in the picks, and that was me. And I looked like a fool for doing it. Lane Kiffin not leaving Ole Miss for Penn State, and I think that Kiffin takes the Florida job when Napier gets fired. I'm not so sure. I tend to be with Rock. I think he may stay at Ole Miss.
I mean, what do you get from being at Florida that he's already, yes, he got passed by Texas A&M this week, but he's already a top 5 team nationally right now. In a year that everybody expected him to not be as good at Ole Miss, because last year was supposed to be the year that they really went for it. And I don't know that their team is as strong as their current ranking is, but he still gets his fair share. I'm sure in some ways it's easier to recruit in Gainesville than over in Mississippi, but you wouldn't know it from the results on the field over the last few years.
Nitwit says, I actually think Lane Kiffin wants to win a national championship. He could do that at Penn State. He could do that at Ole Miss. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. I know we're still kind of caught up in this blue blood way of thinking, but look, Indiana. Curt Cignetti could win a national championship at Indiana. You can't tell me that Lane Kiffin could not win a championship at Ole Miss, especially when he came close to making the playoffs last year. I mean, that terrible Kentucky defeat, but Jackson Dart, I mean, he's shown himself to be an admirable quarterback for the New York Giants, if you guys didn't catch that game on Thursday night. So Lane Kiffin's a guy who knows how to recruit talent and develop talent. Does he want to go to Florida? And I disagree with Rock. I think it's way harder. It's going to be way harder to recruit in Florida, especially with Miami being up and all the Big Ten teams that are flooding in, the Big Ten and SEC teams that are flooding in there. It's already super hard to recruit in Florida. Just because you're at a Florida school, I think it makes it even more difficult.
Long as Norvell's there, Florida's still going to be recruiting pretty good in Florida. Napier has done recruiting better.
Listen, we'll talk about it. I don't think Norvell's sticking around either. I think Norvell's got one foot out the door. And congratulations on your win over Alabama, but this is a game of what have you done for me lately? Sean says Indiana's number 3 ranking is the first time in Indiana school history. Yeah, big deal. Curt Cignetti is a big, big deal there at that university. It's good to see Bloomington. I mean, hell, it used to be I'd go to Bloomington and be 90% Ohio State fans. Nobody wanted to show up there. Dogs and Dubs. He's 64 in Indiana, will pay up. No reason to leave. I thought he was 61.
No, he's 64.
Is he 64? Ooh.
I'll verify that, but I'm pretty sure that he is 64.
5-6 years. Cignetti might win the Big Ten this year. He very well might. I put it on Twitter a couple weeks ago after that Illinois game. I said 64. I never thought I'd be. Yeah, I said I never thought I'd be saying this, but thank God Ohio State doesn't have Indiana on the schedule this year. But we may end up playing them in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, right now that seems to be the case.
Glenn Hanna's here. He says, well, once again, humble pie in Eugene. I must be getting used to it. I no longer get wrecked after a loss. Just appreciate spending Saturdays watching football instead of ice skating. Sure. I mean, and listen, I know a lot of people are already grinding it to Oregon Duck fans that they lost to Indiana. Indiana's a good team, guys. Indiana made the playoffs last year. Indiana's probably going to make the playoffs this year.
Plus, Glenn, you still have video of Dan Lanning jumping into the pool with the recruit and taking his shirt off with Pat McAfee during game days, so that should keep you warm all off season. But it's also one loss. Like, let's be real, Oregon is still very likely in a path to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Glenn. Will Stein, I think, is a fantastic coordinator. I think he could go the Kenny Dillingham route, go to Penn State, become a winner there. But we'll see. Penn State may want a proven name. Chris Peterson's another name you brought up. Chris Peterson, former coach at Boise State and Washington.
Do you get the sense
Definitely
that guy's
another
never
one.
going to coach again?
I don't know. You never know with these guys, man. According to the Penn State beat writers, the buyout is paid out $8 million a year for the remainder of the contract. Is how it's written.
Yeah, he has an offset.
Nitwit wants Al Golden. Okay. Well, as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you can have him. I will certainly gladly give him up because we never should have fired Lou Anarumo. But
I mean, I like you, Nitwit, so I can't co-sign on Al Golden as a head coach. I know it's a decade later, but the press conference was the best day, and it never got better. And he didn't get the resources he needed, but two things can be true at the same time.
The dude does know how to wear a tie, though.
He wears a tie. I mean, if wearing a tie was a forecast of future success of your program, everybody should be bidding for him.
It's hard to believe that you could have Florida, Florida State, and Penn State open in the same year. Absolutely. Like I said, there's a lot of coaches getting raises this season. Dan Mullen, it's another good name. Dan Mullen at UNLV. They had a close call yesterday, but Dan Mullen, another offensive guy.
Let me ask you a question, Mo. Do you know one of the reasons, besides his kooky wife and not, winning a national title, that Dan Mullen was under fire at Florida for as long as he was before he got fired?
There was a recruiting thing, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was just a little bit of a recruiting thing. So I don't know. I don't know. It could be weird. Maybe like Penn State probably needs to recruit a bit.
I know right now every Ohio State coach is calling every Penn State recruit and everybody on the team.
Well, there's been at least Nitwit and Bob might know. I thought I saw at least 5 or 6 major decommitments today.
Yeah, the 2027, the number 1 overall running back decommitted, and I hope like hell Ohio State gets him. Nitwit says I like Diaz too. Listen, Manny Diaz has done adequate as Duke's coach. But his stint at Miami.
Manny does a great job with jewelry and riding a boat into an opening press conference. And he was a very good defensive coordinator for Miami. I know he had his ups and downs with Texas, and he clearly did a great job for Penn State. So I get it. But he's also the guy who, has taken he's still undefeated. Duke's undefeated in ACC play, but he's taken a couple of L's that he shouldn't have. Can you imagine if Manny Diaz as a Penn State coach looked like he did when they lost to Tulane?
I was going to let him run down Manny Diaz as head coach.
Yeah, I don't personally dislike Manny. I thought he was a really good coordinator, and I thought he did a good job infusing some energy into the program at Miami. My issues were more with the athletic director, even hiring him to begin with, because I don't believe a coordinator with that level of experience should have their first head coaching job at a program that has its own unique challenges like Miami. And I certainly don't think that it was great when he got a Temple job and our athletic director was so out of touch that Mark Richt was about to retire that we had to pay millions of dollars to get our own DC back from Temple after a few days. But that's not Manny's fault. That was Boston College's esteemed athletic director now, Blake James' fault. But I don't know. I think he did a great job, and James Franklin clearly helped Manny a lot with the 2 years that he was the defensive coordinator at Penn State.
By the way, speaking of Boston College, Bill O'Brien is another name I've heard mentioned. He did take over for Joe Paterno at Penn State, kind of brought them out of that foggy situation, and didn't do so well in the pros, but could be another one that you take a look at. Penn State didn't fire Franklin to bring in an untested coordinator for a head coaching job. They're going to look for someone who can get them over the top. Sean, I understand what you're saying, but untested coaches get people over the top all the time. Look at Mike Elko at Texas A&M. He's in his second season and has that team rolling. There you go, untested coordinator. He was a head coach at Duke, but he was mostly known for his coordinator positions. Ryan Day at Ohio State, we mentioned that. These guys start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. Kenny Dillingham returns back to Arizona State, gets Arizona State to the playoffs last year. Probably should have beat Texas in that game. So you never know where your great coach is going to come from. I don't think people realize how big this firing was. Penn State's lost its 2027 recruiting class altogether, and the 2026 recruiting class is now in a teetering, dangerous Jenga game.
Yes, I'm surprised it's going as fast as it is. There's always decommitments when a coach changes and you don't know, especially somebody as huge of a coach as James Franklin is in the coaching hierarchy and renown. I thought it would just be a little bit slower because, the way NIL is with people getting paid for commitments and things that are happening before they even sign. I would have thought those type of players, a few of them might be holding back because there's no risk to just secretly opening up your recruitment.
Morris Simmons, our friend from Florida State, says we should have never hired Norvell. And the dollar amount is $58 million.
And I don't believe the offset language is as great in favor as James Franklin's is, from what I understand. But maybe Morris, for any of the other Knowles in the chat, know a little bit better from being on their boards. You should thank Penn State, though. I think Penn State making that move with that buyout as high as it is certainly added fuel to the fire for everybody else who's been worried that their team buyout is an issue. It still is an issue, but there's definitely going to be more pressure on every respective administration in a similar boat to what Penn State is dealing with.
Absolutely. And speaking of coaches that are on the scorching hot lava seat, there's a belief that boosters would pay off Fickell's contract. So what are they waiting for? Show Fickell and McIntosh the door. Ryan, I don't know what they're waiting for. I would have tarmacked him. Well, you couldn't tarmac him. It was a home game, but I would have met him before he got into the. Yeah, I would have exit ramped him. I don't know that I would have even let him get to the exit ramp. I'd have maybe just stopped him on the sidelines and said, "Hey, give us your keys and we'll pack stuff up for you." 37-0 at Camp Randall. Unforgivable.
37-0 against Iowa, home or on the road, with how poor Iowa's offense has been, would be unforgivable. It's
right,
almost,
but I mean, the week before they scored 14 on Michigan, and Michigan, I think, has a better defense than Iowa. Like, I mean, you can't score a field goal. Just embarrassing. Mimi L, good to see you, Mimi. Don't you think they had someone in mind already when Franklin was fired? I think they have several people in mind.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is narrowed down to one person. I think this is going to be a wide net they're casting to get the right person in there.
Yeah, most competent athletic directors have a constant list of who they would be making their first calls on. Not that they would limit it to them, but they usually have that already thought through in case, what if James Franklin got offered a pro job and finally decided to do a change, or something happened, or somebody gets sick. The good ones are not put in a position of starting from scratch when these moments happen, though clearly this accelerated massively in the last 3 weeks. It wasn't like there weren't reports over the summer, the whole offseason, that Penn State was going all in to try to win that natty, bringing people back, trying to fill gaps in the wide receiver room, and that if it wasn't this year, when would it be, and whether Penn State was a program that was okay with a constant 10-2, 9-3, 11-1 bowl game, playoffs most of the time, here or there, or if the aspirations were higher to actually be in a position to truly win a national championship. So I think we know the answer to that now.
Yeah, it was interesting that I read on Twitter that going back like 2 weeks ago, it was $1,000 a seat to get into Happy Valley or Beaver Stadium, and then it was down to under $10. You could get a seat in Beaver Stadium. So
Yeah, I mean that stuff costs. My cousin, her daughter is a graduate of Penn State, and she canceled hotel reservations that she had for like a hopeful playoff game, right? Like that stuff is meaningful money,
yeah,
not just the hey, how much does Penn State make from media rights, but like the local ecosystem, especially in a college town like State College. So that's you think about how much money it is for James Franklin, but for that greater economy, not getting a playoff game in and of itself with all of the tourism and the money that's spent is probably far exceeds the buyout money.
absolutely. And if you have not done so yet and you are a member, consider jumping over to the members videos and watching that Big Money Markets cover the city of Tallahassee. One of the biggest industries in Tallahassee is Florida State University. It provides a lot of gross domestic product for, in terms of education, food and accommodation, et cetera, et cetera. The state capital also boosts it up, but State College, that is the economy, is Penn State University. Nebraska Steve says, I hope Indiana now gets the respect they so long deserved. Well, let's be honest. Indiana's football team has been butt for a long time. I know Tom Allen had. You're muted. You're muted, Rock.
I was going to say, weren't they number one in terms of like the P4, P5 in terms of history of losing until Signetti?
Yeah, they were not good. They were not good for a very long time. And that's because I don't think they wanted to necessarily be good. They were a basketball school. They'd lose in football, and Bob Knight would come out there and throw a chair on the court, and they'd win in football, and they'd win in basketball. So I don't think they were really trying to win, but Indiana does deserve the respect they get. Mimi L says, go Bucks. Absolutely. By the way, just a little bit off topic. How in the hell, when are we ever going to figure out what the hell a catch is and what the hell targeting is? Because it seems the definition changes weekly. You're still muted, Rock.
Sorry, I'll get back to you right after I figure out what the ball crossing the plane of the goal line automatically means. It's a touchdown and the ball is dead, and you call the whistle is. Since I clearly don't know what that is either.
There was just some bad officiating this weekend, but that pass by Jeremiah Smith, the fact it moved a fraction of an inch when he hit the ground, it's Jeremiah Smith, guys. I think it was a catch. I think it was a catch. And the week before in the Penn State Oregon game with that non-targeting targeting call, I'd like that was what we were always told was textbook targeting. The RB was going to decommit anyway. He said Friday night after his high school game that he wasn't fully committed. Well, Lee, that's not good for you, but I'm sure we can find a home for him in Columbus. Dion will be coaching one of those Florida schools next season. Wouldn't shock me. I would not be surprised if Dion went back to Florida State. Would not be surprised.
Hey, look, they should have talked to him the first time around in a meaningful way.
Scavin, yes, says, evening, gentlemen, GBR. Go Big Red. Is Knowles getting fired too? We don't want him back at Ohio State. He can keep on moving. We don't know, Mimi. Maybe we don't know. I know he has a 3-year deal at Penn State, and I'm pretty sure the vast majority of it is guaranteed.
I'm sure he did not make a move from a very secure job at Ohio State with a 1-year flyer.
Yeah. And again, I think he would be a great coach for Oklahoma State. The home field advantage for Oregon did help with some penalties, which is more impressive of Indiana, as they could have won by more than 10 on a neutral field. They were stout. Yeah, Indiana's good. Indiana's good, and I think the best part is this was not prime time, but this was a nationally broadcast game. I think everybody got to see how what a real deal Indiana was.
For sure.
Earl Carr, how about my Cougars? I am shocked Penn State fired Franklin considering the buyout. Well, Earl Carr, I appreciate that you're a member, but that was a bad call in the end zone on that defensive pass interference at the end. I had Arizona on the money line in a 3-leg parlay, and that screwed me over. So
ironically, BYU is dancing with the devil, man. But I guess that's a good warm up for playing the Holy War this coming week.
Does Jonathan Smith go back to Oregon State to beat the mob calling for his head? It's still his second year at Michigan State, and he was left a shit show. Now, granted, I would have been more appreciative if Jonathan Smith had scored just a field goal, because I had UCLA on the money line and the over, and UCLA came in on the money line. They missed the over by 2 points. I needed a field goal, just one more field goal, guys. Come on. Degenerate gamblers out here, They always
just a
say,
thin
guys,
little wafer, Moen. Just a thin little wafer.
They said, guys, don't bully I don't bully student athletes. I bully officials. I bully head coaches. I bully coordinators. I would never bully a student athlete. The score doesn't tell the story of the Indiana-Oregon game. Oregon really got curb stomped, in my opinion. Oregon did get some lucky breaks there, but, I mean, it's not that I don't think Oregon's a good team. I still think there's at least 4 playoff teams in the Big Ten this year. I'm glad there's a replay booth to correct bad calls made by on-field officials. Matthew Hasselhorst, I hope I said that right. Looks like he's a Power Cat man. Kansas State, big win for them. Guys, how is Utah only number 23? I don't know, but this is hate week, or I guess they probably don't hate. This is intense dislike week in Salt Lake City. So
I think it's
we'll
probably
see.
because when they lost to Texas Tech, they kind of got boat raced, right? And at the time, Texas Tech wasn't as high as they are now, and Utah just came back in to the poll this week. They were receiving votes, right? I believe last week. So I think that's probably why. So you have to kind of look at them relative to the other one-loss team, see how bad that loss was, and to who it was. And then at the end, I'm sure there's still some, Big 12 slight going on anyway.
Beeves would take Smith back if he apologized and said nice things. That reminds me of the joke, he would only return under any circumstances. I never bet on BYU. They screw me every time. You're absolutely right, Sean. That's what I told Bomber on Friday. I said they have not covered the last 3 games. Weird things happen in the desert. Absolutely. We had a lightning delay for an hour and a half. And it did not look like they were going to cover. It looked like Arizona was going to win that game. And some officiating happened,
I have BYU as the worst, best undefeated team of the Power 4.
I agree with you. And I'm sorry, Earl Carr. You got a good defense, but your offensive coordinator, there's another coach that should be fired.
Yeah, your offense is offensive.
Yeah. I mean, literally, when your best play is running your quarterback, I'm going to tell you right now, I watched a quarterback get ground into dust doing that. I watched Braxton Miller get ground into dust doing that. I see it happening with Georgia Tech, Haynes King. I see it happening with Tommy Castellanos at Florida State. Just, you can't keep just running. I get it. He's 19 years old. He's a big, strong boy, but you're going to grind him down. Utah has beat each opponent by a minimum of 25 points while only losing to juggernaut Texas Tech. Meanwhile, USF, Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, LSU, Tennessee, all ranked above Utah. You know why this is? Because Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, LSU, and Tennessee are all brands. USF still gets credit for all their wins.
Yeah, and USF was ranked last week, so they're going to be ahead generally, and they did nothing on Friday night to dissuade people about how good that USF is.
If I'd known Jeff Sims was Sam Levitt's replacement, I would have bet heavy on Utah against ASU. I can't believe ASU had not found a better replacement for Sam Levitt than Jeff Sims, who was awful at Nebraska. Yeah, here's the thing. I did bet heavy on Utah, but I also bet Arizona on the money line in that parlay. And I dozed off during the USC Michigan game, woke up, saw that score, and said, oh, let's see how I did. And I looked and I said, all my bets were settled. My account said $0. And so I said, let's go to the one bet that's still alive. And I looked at it and I said, I could still win something. And then they laughed and threw me out of Valhalla. I'll pay A-Rod's buyout if they would fire his ass. Well, there you go. BYU fans, if you're watching, Sean on YouTube says he will pay the buyout. I don't know what the buyout is, but Sean says he has got it covered.
I mean, be careful, because some of these bets that people put online that don't get really paid in reality, like, eating certain things, tend to linger and destroy programs.
That's true. And if Bomber really believed, if Bomber really believed in his Cougars, Earl Carr, he would shave that Billy Goat beard off. He would do it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Instead of saying $300 is not enough to shave it off. I mean, I've had to eat Skyline chili on this channel. That damn near killed me. The Mad Dog 2020, I didn't mind so much. But, I'm white trash. So I have that white trash genes. It didn't bother me that much.
Yeah,
but
for you, it's just basically adult high C.
Yeah. It's like adult high C. But yeah, the fact Bomber doesn't ever want to participate, doesn't want to shave off the Billy Goat gruff. I told him I'm going to fly out to Salt Lake City and we're going to wax it off. And I even offered to shave my eyebrows. And how you have to look like a mutant without eyebrows. You look like the guy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and what was the Wes Craven? The Hills Have Eyes.
The Hills Have Eyes. And
yes.
Well, Owen, everybody needs to make sure you go out and stock up on popcorn, because the vitriol between Bomber and Wild Ute this week will be pretty awesome, especially on Friday.
I am, guys, listen, I don't make promises. I don't make guarantees. I'm going to try and get them to bet. Bomber loses the Billy Goat beard. Ute eats the ass fruit. Ass fruit versus beard challenge. Or maybe just the ass fruit versus ass fruit challenge. And make each one of them try it. Whoever's the winner gets to watch the other one eat the ass fruit. So Mimi L, thanks for the shout out. Absolutely, Mimi, no problem at all. And by the way, if you guys don't know what ass fruit is, it is called durian. It is a delicacy. It is such a delicacy that it costs $126 in Columbus, Ohio. So I did not pick up any ass fruit to try, but I do want to try durian. I do want to try it. It's probably cheaper there in California, I'd imagine.
I'll have to double check. You have to send me the specs so I know what I'm looking for, and I'll go into some foo shop and see if I can find out.
You got to go into like an Asian shop. It's an Asian delicacy.
Well, they got, but we have Asian supermarkets around here, so it's
okay.
Not that hard.
Good deal. Let's talk about some of the games that happened this week. Oh, by the way, Hugh Freeze, Auburn, terrible game, likely to get fired. Billy Napier, we mentioned him, likely to get fired. Mike Norvell has lost, I believe, 8 or 9 straight ACC conference games.
He hasn't won an ACC conference game in over a calendar year, and it would have been longer except for Cal choked there. So yeah, FSU fans are rightly frustrated and looking with longing eyes to State College, saying, "Can you be my athletic director?"
Absolutely. Good luck on that bet, Moen. I'm going to do everything I can. I will instigate. I am a shit stirring some bitch. I will stir that shit on Friday to the point that that we're going to get ass fruits and shaved beards, and I might make Ute shave off one eyebrow. I think that would be worse than both eyebrows. Just shave
I'm
one
sure that would
off.
be awesome when he walks into work that way.
Just shave one eyebrow. Let's spend some more time besmirching Wisconsin. I can't. I listen, man. I feel bad for him. I do. That I mean, growing up, Barry Alvarez, that was a program, dude. That was a program. But let's talk about some of these other games. Oklahoma versus Texas. John Napier makes his comeback 17 days after surgery. What did you think?
Admirable that he did it. All the memes about his surgeon were pretty brilliant from the Oklahoma fan base. I wonder how bad, their backup quarterback must have looked in practice to let Napier go out there that way. To me, I think if he was the way he was, right, which was not his full self, not the guy who was leading the Heisman boards, you probably shouldn't have played him for his own health, but also down the road, when you're in the committee's hands, and granted, we know what the committee did with injuries a couple of years ago to Florida State fans, but that was in a 4-team era. Not defending it, it's bullshit. But now that could have been something the committee would have looked at of like, hey, if that was your lone loss of, hey, you didn't have your starting quarterback, instead you had your starting quarterback. It doesn't cure all of Texas's ills, but hey, look, it's the Red River rivalry. It's one of the top 5 rivalries in all of college football. It's one of those games that soothes your soul if your season's a little bit challenged, and it kept Texas off of completely being dead in the playoff. They're at least on life support, but it doesn't seem like Napier should have played. What about you, Moen?
Yeah, definitely. Napier should not have played. Not only didn't look like himself, some of those turnovers, I think you have to put directly on the fact that thumb was not healed.
For sure.
He threw some picks that were just terrible. Like, I mean, they weren't picks where he was making a mistake. I think they were more just picks where he was just not, the ball was not coming out of his hand the way it normally does.
Right. And the coaches should have picked that up in practice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning. I get it. Maybe to give a little fire to your team. Maybe that's it, but I don't get it. I told Greg that they could fire Fickell this week, then he and his family could ride the OSU bus back to Columbus. No, he can't. Because we're flying to Madison. We're flying to Madison, and if he wants to fly back to Columbus, he's going to have to pay for his own ticket. I'm sorry.
Does the band travel? Maybe the band's taking buses?
I think, listen, if you really want to get rid of him that badly, Ryan, I think you guys should cover the cost of the plane ticket. Just hand him the plane ticket and say, we don't know where this plane ticket goes, but it ain't here. So hit the tarmac and get out of here. Let's give you a little Badger sound here. This might cheer you up a little bit, Ryan. I know it won't cheer you up a lot, though, but thank you for the super chat. In other news, Ohio State won the Illy Buck. Congratulations to Ohio State. I know this matters to only us and people from Illinois. I've had to explain this to people throughout the week, including Ohio State people, why this is important. And that is embarrassing to me. If you're an Ohio State fan and you don't understand why the Illy Buck is important, you need to learn. You need to learn. So Illy Buck the 11th comes back to Columbus. We can start the party.
Let's party, Columbus.
Let's party, Columbus. Illy Buck is back. For those of you who don't know, Illinois, the Illy Buck Trophy used to be a live tortoise. We now use a carved tortoise, and every time the show gets filled up, we replace it with a new tortoise. Illinois was Ohio State's rival before Michigan was. That's how we ended our
up their end of the bargain and dropped off for too long.
We ended up, no, well, it used to be in the original Big Ten in the Western Conference. That was how Ohio State ended their season, was against Illinois. Fickell is going to get whooped on like Grambling this week, all due respect. All due
Grambling
respect.
has a good band, though.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. I don't know. You know, here's the thing though. Ryan Day may, and I said this about the Minnesota game too. He took his foot off the gas against Minnesota. That game could have been 66. Ohio State could have scored 66 to 70 points on him, and he didn't do it. He may have enough respect for Fickell where he only puts up like 42 or 49 points on him. The refs get paid fat cash and briefcases to call the games the way they do. Mimi, I'm going to tell you right now, this is something that drives me nuts. We've talked about it before. I think there should be an independent officiating thing throughout college football. I don't think conferences should be getting involved in it because I think whether they get, I don't think they're explicitly told, but I think they're nudged to make calls the way they make calls to benefit the bigger brands, to make sure schools remain undefeated.
I agree, man. There's some pathetic stuff, and honestly, the SEC I think has the worst refereeing this season, from what I've seen. That Georgia Auburn game, that 2-minute sequence that took 40 minutes to go, get everything done, was one of the worst things. And I've also it's very rare I've seen a game flip like that.
And by the way, for anybody who actually watched the Auburn Georgia game, I think there should be a class action lawsuit. I might have to find an attorney to start that up. You may be entitled to receive compensation if you watch that.
I think you should just call Doug and see if he can file it for you in Georgia.
There you go. Doug, file this class action lawsuit. I just want to see the commercial he puts out. Did you watch the Auburn Georgia football game? You may be entitled to compensation. You or your loved ones. Do you have any of these side effects? Sean says, I think he rebroke his thumb throwing the ball in the first quarter. His hand hit a Texas offensive lineman's mask. It's hard to concoct silver linings for my two teams. All I can come up with is they're consistently disappointments. And at least my Penn State and USC friends can't talk shit about my other team. I thought USC, I mean, come on. It wasn't, it's not like winning the Rose Bowl, but I think USC was all right. Hi, guys. Any idea how to put together a MASH unit so we can finish out the season? So tired of these injuries. Well, you got to get Alan Alda on board.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, that would require you getting a Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's true. Oh shit! I didn't even think of that. Good point of reference. You would have to get a Hawkeye. So maybe you don't want to do that. And a Trapper, a Hawkeye and a Trapper, and Trapper John way better than BJ Honeycutt. Buckeye State laugh out loud. Bob Swanger, oh my God! Don't start with conspiracy theories. Listen, it's not a theory if it's true. And you're not paranoid if they really are after you.
Right. Moen's possessed by Greg right now.
I'm just saying, man, it just seems awfully strange to me that we don't have, the NCAA does not have some centralized officiating who you got for the Holy War, Moen and Rock? It's a great question. It's going to be on our picks this week, but we can spoil it a little bit. I'm taking Utah.
I'm definitely taking Utah.
Yeah. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know that BYU's offense can score enough points. They've got a good defense. If they can shut Napier down, I mean, good for them. But I just don't think they can keep up score-wise. In fact, I think Utah might win this by 2 touchdowns. I don't know. At this point, both deserve half a media rights deal like Oregon and Washington. I want gold medal teams. Not everyone gets a medal team. If you want to give us your half share, I will gladly take it.
Feel free to send it to Coral Gables too if you want.
By the way, word on the street is a possibility of a meeting tomorrow among Big Ten officials to discuss the private capital infusion deal and potentially vote on it. So,
is that where they'll also let everybody know they're not doing any further conference expansion, and then Miami can officially join the hospitals conference in the Southeast?
You guys wish you could get in the hospitals conference. Sean says good that we're picking Utah. Utah looked good last night. They did. Don't forget about Radar and Klinger. Yeah, Radar, O'Reilly, Gary Berghoff. For those who don't know, Gary Berghoff was from Ohio. For years, Gary Berghoff was the Sohio guy here in Ohio. That was Standard Oil, Ohio.
He was also the basic, you know how Nico was a poster child for NIL gone wrong decisions? He used to be that for like deciding to quit a TV show too soon.
Yeah, well, to be fair, my dad actually ran into him in the Florida Keys at one point. And it was just a complete accident. He was trying to figure out where he was going. He turned around in someone's driveway, and there was a guy outside gutting fish, and it was Gary Berghoff. So there you go. But yeah, he was this Ohio guy. We all knew him as this Ohio guy in Ohio growing up. He did all the Ohio commercials. That was supposed to be in a super chat. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, hi guys. Any idea how to put together a match? Okay. Well, sorry, your super chat resulted in you getting a Hawkeye. But I'll play your fight song for you at least, because we can't play the MASH song because of the lyrics. Thank you for that. Hey guys, would greatly appreciate if you would consider subscribing to youtube.com/CFB Express if you have not done so already. If you're watching us on Twitter, consider coming over here and jumping on the CFB Mafia. Give us a like and a subscribe. If you're watching on a mobile device, give us a hype.
What are you doing? You got to be here in the chat. You got to give us some grief, man. A couple hundred of your asses over there. Come over to the YouTube and tell us how wrong we are.
I mean, we've got some new chatters tonight. I saw Mimi Ellen here, Matthew Hasselhorst. We've got some new chatters in here tonight. I love to see it.
We need somebody to see if they can take. We need somebody to see if they can take the title from best screen name though, because we still do have. To me, Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper still has the title.
Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good. Stormy Cyclone says, "Boo, no Hawkeye." Hey, listen, Hawkeye was the linchpin of that MASH unit. Worst mistake I've made was singing the MASH theme song on college campus and no one knowing it was a theme song. Yeah, that's right. That's why I said we couldn't sing it on this channel or Rock's channel for that matter.
You can't. You have to a word.
Yeah.
Before it is painless.
Yeah. Just subscribed. There you go.
Thanks,
you got
Mimi.
another one rocking around. Thank you, Mimi. That is much appreciated. Let me see if I can find the applause. Nope. There we go.
Well, hopefully you'll laugh and applaud depending upon things, because Lord knows we have some bad takes, but being right on James Franklin is not at all a bad take that we have had across both channels.
Hot Lips, absolutely. Let's before we get the last call, we're gonna get the last call, guys. We took up most of the show talking about coaching hires and fires and need to be fired and need to be hired, but let's talk a little bit about MASH. Now, for you, Rock, the movie or the TV show?
The TV show, but I love the movie. I mean, the TV show was probably my favorite show as a kid growing up, and reruns and things, even if it was episodes were older than me, I saw that. So that was the show that helped me understand that not every show is exactly what you think it is. Like, that's a show that you can watch in two different ways, right? There's a very just funny part of it, and then there's a lot of meaning in. So that was important. But the original movie with Donald Sutherland is also stellar. It's one of the rare times where movie to book to movie, book to TV show, movie to TV show, that both are great, and I can understand why anyone would like one over the other. But I just think having that sustained dominance in people's minds for as long as a TV show did is just an amazing feat that is rare.
Yeah, and the series finale, one of the most watched series television shows in history. Just for me, I will go with the movie. I just love the movie. I think it's so well acted, just the perfect ensemble cast. Frank Burns, Robert Duvall is Frank Burns. Donald Sutherland, as he mentioned, is Hawkeye Pierce.
Gould,
Trapper
right?
John, Elliot Gould. Gary Berghoff was also in the movie. Sally Kirkland as Hot Lips O'Houlihan. So
that's
yeah.
That was played the exact same thing.
Yeah, we can't use the name of the black. Yeah. We can't use the name of one of the characters in there either. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's stop at that before anything else happens. And let's get to our last call. What's your last call for the evening, Rock?
Hey man, we're at the mid-season, right? And I still don't think we know shit. To be honest, I think there are tiers, but there's also been so many tiers. I don't think we really know. I think everybody should put your assumptions aside, and I think that anybody can still lose. I'm hoping that's not the case on Friday night. Miami plays Louisville, and there's a lot of great games this weekend. We have, I think, at least two, if not top 10 matchups. I think there's two top 11 matchups in the SEC coming this weekend. So, though I did good in picking games this week, at least personally, I don't know how well I did in the Mafia one. I literally don't know anything. As much as we focus on this and pay attention to all year, this is, to me, the best college football season since 2007, as Daniel Gygax reminded me about last night when we were chatting on the channel. So looking forward to another great weekend. How about yourself, man?
I'm not looking forward to being reminded about 2007. But yeah, they got the Holy War this weekend. Ohio State does travel to Madison to go play the Badgers. So I guess I got an easy win. Troll Grinding Sheet Clapper, probably one of the last TV series endings that wasn't shit, at least compared to contemporary TV show series endings. Only one I would disagree with, Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad had the best
6 Feet Under
ending.
was excellent too.
I never got into 6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under was so good. And if you watch 6 Feet Under, it was probably the show that, to me, that I've seen, because there's a lot of shows I haven't, that the ending wrapped up every single loose end in the exact way the show existed for years on.
And absolutely, and I will still defend the Sopranos finale. For those who don't, in streaming, where now you can all just get all this streaming stuff and you can watch it all in one setting, you don't understand what it was like to watch the clock kick down from 9:55 to 9:56, trying to figure out how that show was going to end, only to realize that was the show's creator making you feel that sense that Tony must feel all the time. And yes, right, the creator did confirm later on, Tony gets shot in that scene. So guy comes out of the bathroom.
Wait 20 years to confirm it.
He made us wait 20 years to confirm it, but Tony does die in front of his kids. So, there you go. That would be my thing. My last call would be that there are some good series finales. There's some terrible ones. The Dexter series finale is the worst shit you will ever see.
Seinfeld for me.
Seinfeld was bad, where they're just eating cereal in a jail cell. Yeah. Seinfeld was bad, but MASH finale was good. Breaking Bad finale I thought was great. I love.
Can you find one moment in Breaking Bad that wasn't great? I don't know if I could.
Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul's ending. I thought that was fantastic as well. So, just me, but yeah, there's still some good ones out there. So we will see you guys next week here at Sunday at 7 p.m. We'll let you get out of here and watch the NFL game. Tuesday night this week, you have Bombers Blitz. Wednesday, we will have The Take. Then Friday, we will have the big freaking Friday show. It is the Holy War week, the Holy Rivals. Should be an interesting Friday. I hope you all
and you
do
haven't
tune
seen the
into it.
Mafia show if you have not seen when Wild Ute and Bomber are not happy with each other. It's almost like the ending of the Sopranos series.
It is. Moen walks in and just it goes black, and I wax the fucking Billy Goat beard off of it. Wax the Billy Goat beard off and wax his one eyebrow off. Thank you guys. We will catch you next week. Everybody have a good one. Peace out.